Welcome to Cory's Conscious Living. Hi guys, do you want to be in the cat club? Do you know what the cat club is? Heidi, Cherry and Vaya have an exclusive club for members to come and join. It's $7 a month. Every 7th of the month you get 3 exclusive Heidi, Cherry and Vaya stories that only you get to listen to. No one else that's not in the club gets to get these stories, so they're very special. If you want to know more about it, get a guardian or your mum and dad to help you to look at the link below the video to check out the cat club. Namaste, my little friend. Enjoy your story. Are you ready to meditate with Cory? Lay down and get super comfortable in your bed. Make sure the light is just right. You're wearing your comfortable pajamas. And you can relax your body and let go of your busy day. Ted is a really, really tiny little ant. He was at school. It was playtime. Lunchtime, actually. Everybody had had the lunch, but it was playtime after lunch for a little bit and then they had to go back into class. Ted was sat alone. Completely alone. He was looking around at all the other ants, and the school was packed. There was literally hundreds of ants, all different ages, all different types. There was boys and girls, and he was alone. He was sad. He was thinking about how many days he actually sits on this wall with his book, pretending to read so he doesn't feel sad about the fact that none of the other ants ever ask him to play. He said to himself, "Why does no one want to hang out with me?" Ted had tried many different things. He had a really cool mum that he could talk to about what was happening at school, and his mum said, "Don't worry, just involve yourself. Go up to different groups and talk and say, 'Hi, my name's Ted, and what you guys doing? Can I play?'" This was very, very hard for Ted. It was hard because of a number of different things. Sometimes he felt super embarrassed. Sometimes he was really, really self-conscious. Sometimes when he thought about doing it, he was super, super scared in case they just said, "Go away." But he still tried to do what his mum said. Even though he had to break through all of his fears and all of his uncomfortable feelings, some days he would get really brave and he would go over to a group of ants that were playing a certain game and he'd say, "Hi, my name's Ted. Can I play this game?" Sometimes one of the ants would say, "Yeah, sure." And he'd be so excited and so happy. And he'd be playing with them for a little bit and then it just naturally seemed like they would leave him out. Like they wouldn't pass him the ball anymore, or they wouldn't involve him in chasing everyone around. And then eventually he'd just naturally be left out on the sidelines. And then he'd feel embarrassed. Down and get his book out of his backpack and pretend he was reading so he didn't look like some strange boy all on his own that didn't have any friends, even though that's exactly how he felt. Sometimes when he would go over to different ants that were playing, he would say, "Hi, my name's Ted, can I play?" And they'd just outright ignore him. They wouldn't say yes or no. they'd just completely ignore him. He wasn't sure which one was worse. To be completely ignored, or for someone to say yes but then not really mean it. Either way, it made him feel so lonely. One weekend, he went for a hike with his mum and his dad, and they went to this waterfall, and the waterfall had like a pool of water down at the bottom, and it was so peaceful and pretty, and the water was really crystal clear and sparkly. Ted was playing in the water, and he found this really cool rock. It was like a topaz colour, and it shone all different colours in the light. Ted took the rock home. And then his mum and dad found different rocks too on that hike. And his mum suggested that in the afternoon when they got home, maybe they could paint the rocks. Or maybe they could just put faces on the rocks and make them like rock people. Ted liked that idea. It felt like it would be like having a friend. Ever since they went on their hike and Ted found a rock, now he takes it to school in his backpack. And whenever he's alone, he takes out his rock. His rock talks to him. No one else knows that his rock talks to him, except Ted. It's like Ted's magical secret that the rock is actually alive, and it gives him awesome, wonderful advice, and it tells him jokes and makes him laugh and smile, and he can talk to the rock like a friend, and he can tell the rock all of his problems and his worries. He can do that with his mum, but sometimes he worries that his mum would get worried about him, so he doesn't always tell his mum every problem. But his rock, that's different. His rock is just magical, and it's there for him. And it always smiles at him because he drew a smiley face on the rock. So his rock friend is always happy. And when he takes it out of his backpack and he holds it in his hand, it smiles up at him. And instantly, Ted feels like he's with his friend. On this particular day, he was alone again at lunchtime. And rather than pretend he was reading his book, Ted took out his rock. He held it in his hand and he looked around to see if anyone was watching him. Of course, they weren't. All the hundreds and hundreds of ants were doing their own thing in their own little worlds. They weren't even seeing Ted. It was like he was completely invisible. But instead of feeling sad, Ted was instantly happy because his rock was smiling at him. He said, "Hi, Rock." And the rock said, "Hi, Ted. What you doing?" Ted said, Nothing." The rock said, "You feeling a bit sad again, Ted?" Ted said, Yeah." The rock said, "You know what, Ted? I bet there's definitely more than one ant that feels just like you today at school." Ted said, "What do you mean?" The rock said, "I bet that if you walk around and go in all the different places that you don't normally go at school at lunchtime, and you go in a different direction, I bet you any money that there's ants that are sat reading their books all alone? Ted said, "Do you think?" The rock said, "Oh yes, I know." "Do you know why I know, Ted?" Ted said, No, the rock said. "Because you're never, ever alone. There's always an ant, or another animal, or another person that feels just like you, or that seems to act just like you. Maybe they're shy like you. Maybe they're sensitive like you. Maybe they don't have any friends like you, or they feel like they don't have any friends. Maybe they feel like they don't fit in. Maybe they feel like something's wrong with them. Maybe they feel lonely like you do. But you're never, ever, ever alone. That's the thing, you see. But sometimes you just have to go out of your comfort zone to see if you can find someone that feels just like you." Ted was thinking about what the rock said, and he also felt extra brave with the rock because he felt like he had a friend already with the rock. So he decided to stand up and put the rock back in his backpack. But then he was like, "Oh no, I don't want to put the rock away because then I might feel super lonely again. I'm going to keep the rock and I'm just going to hold it in my hand and I'm going to walk around school in different places and go to different trees and go to different parts of the school that I don't normally walk around. And I'm going to see if I see someone that looks just like me." Ted did just that. He walked around and around. He went all around the bushes, and he never ever did that before. He went to 3 different trees. He never did that before. He went over by the steps at the main building. He'd never done that before. And he went to a hill where all of the ants generally play that he's never been to before because it's always a bit scary and they always look like they're not going to be very nice to him. So he doesn't ever go there, but he went because he was brave, because he had a friend, he had his rock. And do you know that Ted saw 5 different ants that were just sat all on their own, pretending to read their books, just like he does. Now, on this particular day, he wasn't brave enough to go up to those 5 different ants. But on other days in the future, he did. He got brave. He took his rock with him, and he introduced himself to each one of them. He asked them what they were reading, and he asked them questions about the book, and he asked them if it would be okay if he sat with them and read his book. And then while they sat together, they talked about other things. And then before you know it, Ted had 5 new friends. Because of course, those 5 ants didn't want to be sat alone at lunchtime, feeling lonely and sad. They were just like him. They just wanted a friend. Maybe, if sometimes you feel a bit like Ted, it might be a good idea to make yourself a rock buddy, a rock friend, and keep it with you at school so you don't feel like you're alone. And maybe that rock friend can make you brave sometimes. Even if it never makes you brave, at least Having the rock with you means you've always got a friend. Why don't you give it a try? Namaste, my little friend. Now go to sleep, close your eyes, and I'll see you tomorrow.